It's a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time. And if you follow me on Twitter, you see that sometimes I'll throw a topic on the top line to promote the show. Other times I'll just say, you know what, get here or let's go. And you know what that means? We're going to cut Cam loose and we're going to talk. And it's always fun. And sometimes these are the best shows when we don't necessarily know what we're going to talk about for the next 45 minutes to an hour here at the Voice of College Football. But we are talking Miami football with all of you. So leave those comments and questions in the chat and consider a contribution as well. Cam Underwood, State of the U. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. Apparently, I got a little coughing spell that just hit me. But other than that, man, can't complain. Got the new half zip, for you boys. So if you're wondering, hey, this looks different. Yeah, wearing the orange. Usually I have the green. Now flexing the orange, So and I do have a jacket that's white also. So, maybe I'll get that in there. But yeah, rotating, going through all of the colors of the University of Miami.
I'm going to do a little self-promotion to start here in regards to some content offerings because it does apply to Miami, because my first example of this does involve Miami. So I enjoy these kind of mini projects. And if people receive them and watch them and respond to them, then I will do more. And so I let it be known at the end of this video that I posted this morning that if you have a request for 2 programs that you would like to match up, give me the 2 programs and also give me the time frame. Because, for example, I posted today, Miami, Florida State, 21st century. What does this look like? And I just don't throw out like 3 stats and call it a day and wrap up the video. We're talking winning percentage. We're talking about top 5 finishes, top 10, top 25 finishes. We're talking about ACC record. We're talking about conference championships, All-Americans, major award winners, NFL draft selections, NFL first-round draft selections. I try to take about every angle that can be compiled and make a comparison. So, folks, check out the video, and then also let me know if you want to compare Miami, Florida State 1980, Miami, Florida, Miami, whomever, or any 2 programs that you would like. I enjoy doing those sorts of things, and if people enjoy the content. So my question to you, Cam, how do you think that those various comparisons shake out for Miami since the year 2000?
I just looked at the record because I want to be sure. 10-13, unfortunately, so they are +3 against us in that time frame.
There is a bowl matchup.
All right,
that's right.
Yes,
that went Miami's way.
That's how Chris Rickson went 0-5. I forgot. So 11-13. Correct. I mean, just in general, like, let me see. That's 1 national championship apiece. We have a lot of first rounders. They have a lot of first rounders. I mean, they've kind of, they've had some tough times recently, prior to this season. But Miami's had a lot of them. So, I mean, I think I would be surprised if it's not, I won't say handily on Florida State side, but like demonstrably, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's
55% or more. Like, yeah. I mean, like a clear advantage.
It's not like comparing Michigan and Rutgers.
Right. No.
Well, as you started, the head-to-head means a lot to a lot of people, and that's been almost even. Mm-hmm. I'll say this about Miami without giving away all the metrics, because, folks, I would like you to watch the video and take it all in, because we also give context to it. Mm-hmm. This is astounding with Miami, and this shouldn't be any kind of great surprise to anyone. But off the top of my head, I believe that Miami leads in NFL draft selections 132 to 125. So it's fairly even there. But Miami's first 5 drafts totaled 40 selections in the first 5. And so that leaves 87 for the next 19 drafts. So that's obviously considerably different. But what's even more than that is you look at the Miami selections, as you well know, and anybody who loves college football and Miami in particular not just the draft picks, but they go when you're looking at the rounds 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1, then like a 3 5, and then the next year 1 1 1 1.
Yeah.
Miami had, I think it was 32 first rounders. I would have to go. No, it's more than that. Anyway,
Like, I think if you front loaded, it was, but I think there's even been a couple more, obviously.
the number of first rounders in the first 4 or 5 drafts versus the rest of that time is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's 97% of them. I mean, like, it's been Jalen Phillips, Philip Dorsett, and Gregory Rousseau. Artie Burns.
Yeah,
and I think that's maybe about it, so maybe I don't think I'm missing anybody, but I think those are like the last 4 first rounders, that we've had. So
yeah, the 04 draft was the final, just open the floodgates. This is a crazy haul of players.
Right. So, in the 19 going on 20 since then, it's been like a literal handful of first rounders, but hopefully Mario Cristobal can get that going in a different direction. But I have a conversation or a pivot when we're done with this. But it's all of these successes across the board relative to Florida State or just relative to our own performance going to be very front loaded in the 21st century, clearly, because that's been the issue that we've been talking about for the last 15, 20 years of not meeting the standard of performance.
Sean Taylor, Kellen Winslow, Jonathan Vilma, DJ Williams, Vernon Carey, Vince Wilfork, 6 first-round selections in 04. And that was kind of the crescendo and conclusion of that just amazing run of talent.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think even if you take it back to the beginning of that, Howard Schnellenberger built it, and 1980 kind of being the first really good team, and then of course 83 reached the mountaintop. That Florida State has been more consistently good, but Miami's best has been the best between the two.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, our peaks have been higher, but they were, how many years in a row was it top 5? 18, 14. 17, 14, whatever. But I mean, again, every year, set it and forget it. Florida State top 5, if not top 3. And they would have had more championships if not for that little private school in Coral Gables messing stuff up with them time and time again, But still, even with that, set it and forget it. They're a top 5 team for a good long time. Their consistency of excellence when they had it, definitely greater. But because caught in that peak is the best college football team in the history of the sport. So our highs are higher.
All right, folks, I know that most of you like to look forward, so leave those comments and questions. We will answer them, certainly. And I'm ready to pivot.
Perfect. Just wanted to say that, regardless of what team you're rooting for, and I am gutted for my Detroit football Lions, because just the same old sorry ass Lions showed up in the second half, I'm sorry to say. And I said it, I tweeted it, because I wasn't interacting with Twitter or anything. I would just take my phone out and be like, and I'd just shoot off, stream of consciousness things, because I was watching it with another buddy of mine from Michigan and a buddy of mine from college who happens to be a Dallas Cowboys fan, but has a very nice apartment in Miami and wanted to have people over. So I said, you know what, we'll go over there. But I tweeted it when he dropped that ball on 4th and 2. I said, this guy just cost us the season. And I saw later, people were like, no, knew in that moment that the wheels had come off. And, people wanted to go back and relitigate, oh, should you have gone for it on 4th down? Look, we are who we are. We're aggressive. We're going to go for it and everything. And I saw somebody tweeted, said, so when's the time not to go for it? Whenever it works. And what's the context? Whenever, it seems uncomfortable, but, you have to have a process. We had a process. And I was talking with another friend about this, just tangent. You guys will indulge me. You have to adjudicate the decision irrespective of the result, right? because it's easy to play the result. Well, they didn't get it, so why would you go for it? And then shut up. If you say no, we shouldn't go for it up front, and whatever happens, then you're against it. Okay, I understand where Dan Campbell was coming from. I'm with that, but I say that to say that even if my Detroit Lions had won, this next statement would have been true, and it is still true, that no matter who you're rooting for when the Super Bowl happens, there will be a Miami Hurricanes alum who will be able to add Super Bowl champion to his biography. Whether that is Deion Bush for the Kansas City Chiefs, who is playing a lot. I think he's even starting at safety for them. Shout out to the University of Miami. Shout out to Miami Columbus Senior High School. So he is playing for them. And now, because of an injury, John Feliciano is starting at right guard for the San Francisco 49ers. John Feliciano, who I bring up often, him and his fellow classmate, Danny Isadora from John Feliciano went to Davie Western High School, and Isadora went to Weston Cypress Bay. And I said back then, and I've continued to say, those are the guys that you look at as the kind of developmental offensive linemen that eventually pay off. They're not going to play day one. They're not going to play year two. You're looking at year 3 and beyond for them to develop their bodies, improve and increase their skill. And so that's the first time as redshirt sophomores that maybe they crack the 2 deep, right? John Feliciano was one of those guys at Miami and is still in the league, starting on the team with the best record in football, who the Lions had dead to rights, but whatever. Anyways, starting in a Super Bowl. Guys from Miami on both sides. So no matter who you're rooting for, I'm not rooting for anybody. I'm rooting for chaos. Whatever. My heart is broken, guys. Like I close to it and let it slip away because Josh Reynolds doesn't know how to do his damn job and catch the goddamn ball when he's wide open and hits him in the hands. But anyways, I'll go somewhere and have some drinks and enjoy the game. But yeah, whoever you're rooting for, wearing the same colors basically on both sides, there will be a Miami Hurricanes alum who will be able to add Super Bowl champion to their resume and biography. It would have been Michael Badgley had the Lions gotten there because he was our kicker and also a Miami Hurricane. So shout out to those guys. Congratulations to those guys going and playing for a championship on the highest level of the sport. And having the University of Miami represented on the starting line. And it's funny because they'll be on the field at the same time with Feliciano playing offense for San Fran and Deion Bush playing defense for Kansas City. So they'll be sharing the field at the same time. So there's a chance that, they will have an impact on the game. We'll see if it'll be positive or negative. But, they will have an impact on the game. We'll see what the size of that impact will be. And at the end of them, then again, another Miami Hurricane will be an NFL champion. So congratulations in advance to whomever that happens to be.
I'm going to put us both on the spot to spit out as many Miami players in Super Bowls that did historic, significant, whether positive or negative things. Jim Kelly's the first one to come to mind. Played in 4 consecutive Super Bowls, of course, as the Buffalo Bills quarterback from Miami.
In Super Bowls, obviously there was Devin Hester with that opening kickoff return down here in the rain back at, I forget what it was then called. It wasn't Hard Rock Stadium yet. It was Pro Player it wasn't Pro Player. It was Pro Player? I don't know, whatever. But the same stadium and the one that we play at now, I forget what the name of it was at the time, but he had that opening kickoff return. Yeah.
The playmaker.
Of course,
Michael Irvin, 3 Super Bowl wins, big performances. Yes,
of course, going over the middle like nobody's business. I'm sure that there are more.
Oh yeah,
I'm just kind of drawing a blank right now, but lots and lots of them. Will Fork was in New England, so he made lots of plays when they were winning. A lot of many championships. So he was in that as well.
Absolutely. Appreciate y'all being here at the Voice of College Football. Wasn't Reggie Wayne on the Colts team that beat the Bears in that same Super Bowl?
I believe so. Number 87, who should be in the Hall of Fame when they get their heads out of their keisters, but it's forthcoming. So it's overdue already, but Reggie Wayne, he'll be able to add Hall of Famer to his resume.
Russell Maryland, defensive tackle for the Cowboys.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Going back into the 90s. Absolutely. I was picturing Cowboys and I just couldn't. You said playmaker, so then he popped up. Or like that's who I was thinking, and I was thinking of someone else. But who had a play? I have to think about that. Yeah.
Would Jonathan Vilma, he would have been on the Saints team that won the Super Bowl, right?
Oh yeah, he was a starting middle backer. Of course. Yeah. One of the smartest players, smartest guys on those teams in the early 2000s. My freshman brother in 2000.
I don't know that Frank Gore got to a Super Bowl. Frank Gore.
They didn't get there. He wasn't there with Kaepernick when they got there?
Oh, yeah. He would have been.
Yeah.
Yep. 2012-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know if anybody's ever done the deep dive
closely
on how many the colleges with the most representatives in Super Bowls or Super Bowl wins. That would take a lot of exhaustive, well, with databases now, it should be like that, but otherwise would take exhaustive.
I think somebody has that. I think it'll pop up probably next week. Since there's a week off before that game. But yeah, it usually pops up in this 2 weeks here. Because it's another bragging rights thing and it's another recruiting thing. Like, hey, so yeah, I'm sure that we'll see that somewhere soon.
All right. We appreciate you, Falconer TRX, leading us off as always. There we go. Super sticker. Thanks for being here, as is everyone else. A lot of familiar names. Cleveland Gary. Man, I know Cleveland Gary, wore number 43, but I can't think of whether he would have played in a Super Bowl. Falconer TRX. Natties come from the presidents and trustees spending more money.
I don't necessarily, spending money, but yeah, and I think that this has come up because somebody was talking about, I forget who it was. I saw it on social media the other day. I was being a bad employee. I was scrolling during a meeting. But somebody asked the question, what happened to Miami? And of course, all the Miami people were like, oh my God, Donna Shalala and Tad Foote wanted to make Miami the Harvard of the South. And then Donna Shalala came in 2000 at the end of that year, by the way, because my freshman year, 2001, was Tad Foote's final year before he retired. Donna Shalala interviews in 2000, gets named the new university president. So she takes over in the summer of 2001 and was, notoriously spendthrift when it came to, athletics, while running a pair of billion with a B like boy, $1 billion fundraising capital campaigns for the University of Miami. So if you go to campus now, right, and you see all these new buildings and you see all these things, most all of that infrastructure was fundraised by Donna Shalala. You look at her name is on the new student center, guys. You know what I mean? The one that's right there on the lake with the wall of glass where Drake was on the second floor when we had game day there in 2017, right? All that, there's a reason they put her name on it. It's not because she donated a whole bunch. Literally, fundraised. I think it was neon $3 billion at the end. But putting it into the Frost School of Music, from which I graduated, putting it into the new University Village apartment complexes, putting it into the new dorm that's on campus, and then redoing the freshman dorms or the old dorms, like the one that I lived in all 4.5 years, because it was 32 steps from the School of Music. I can live off campus the rest of my life. Why don't I just make my life easy? I don't, whatever kind of things. But it was just well known that it was just we're going to be intentionally thrifty. That's putting a very positive spin on it. But that's really where it comes from and everything. So Falconer's point is well made, that you have to spend money. And whether you want to talk about that in infrastructure, so the new practice facility and the new football operations center, or staffing, because we bought Mario up off his good job and gave him a really good number. And then also we're keeping assistants. Why? Because we're spending the money, and then it's not even getting into NIL, which is money that's being spent, even though it's not necessarily from the university proper. All of those things do contribute to that, to winning. And hopefully we'll be able to turn those dollars into wins soon.
I understand that universities cannot be all things to all people in all areas and be exceptional at everything. You can't have the best nursing school in the country and also have the best finance school. And you have to focus in areas, of course. But at the same time, is there any indicator out there? I know our buddy Tony Altimore comes on with his charts regarding all sorts of academic measurements and athletic and football budgets and success in all those fields. And I don't see where you can't succeed in those two avenues at the same time: athletics, i.e., football, and various academic pursuits. Some of the best world class universities are also great in athletics.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the University of Michigan just won a national championship, and they also have, they've been good at basketball on both the men's and women's side. Gymnastics is a thing, swimming and diving. What's his name? Michael Phelps went to the University of Michigan. Just as one person, there are other Olympians and things like that. So, yeah, you can do both, but there's also a cost. It's just, there's a balance that goes with it, is all.
And along those same lines, Falconer is saying, when Miami's top administrators want to win, we do.
Facts, period. And, we were able to kind of exploit the system, or inefficiency in the recruiting game, for a time with Howard Schnellenberger and everything. And then, as people kind of got hip to that game, that, kind of closed that gap. So it wasn't directly like spending that much, although he did have a healthy pipe budget, because we know from the U, when he went to the top recruits' homes, he would, talk in that low gravelly voice, and then he would leave his pipe on the arm of the couch and everything, and like, oh my God, Coach Schnellenberger, that's his, and that reminds me of the University of Miami, and things like that. So there was a measure to that, but to his point, Julio Frank, the university president now, clearly heard Kirk Herbstreit when he excoriated Miami on game day a couple of years ago, and we're putting our money where our mouth is, but there still needs to be development on the field.
All right, folks, comments and questions, we will take them. Appreciate you being here. We're here every Wednesday night, 7:00 Eastern time. So make it back and bring some folks with you. Whether it's 2024 class, which is pretty much sealed, signed, delivered, all those things for just about everyone in the country. Although I did a run through the top 500 players the other day, and there were about 20 to 22 of them not signed. Now, most of them have made a hard commit here recently that would show that they are committed, but I would guess that there might be a few surprises here in the next week. Would Miami have a connection to anybody that could possibly slip in?
It's possible. I haven't even really been looking at it because I don't think so. But stranger things have happened. We've gotten guys to commit late. That was the Mike Rumpf special every year, going down to the end of the recruiting cycle, and poof, he would fabricate a 4-star cornerback from somewhere that he would get, and it was like, well, we didn't get Pat Surtain, who junior, who you coached in high school. We didn't get Tarvis McFadden, who you coached in high school. We didn't get All-American here. We didn't get Tyreek Stevenson. He transferred from Georgia, guys. Like, he played 2 years up there. Didn't win that recruiting battle. It was just like, yeah, we didn't get those guys from down here or elsewhere, but we got this random 4-star from somewhere else. So, it's not the worst thing ever, but not to the level that it should have been. But so I say that to say that, yeah, could it be possible? Yes, it could be possible that Miami adds a player or two. Mario is always saying that we're looking to improve the roster at every position always, which is, what you should be doing for sure. For my money, I would, sorry.
All right. We good?
Long story short, I sliced my hand open at band camp one year, and sometimes the nerves remind me that I sliced my hand open in the past. So, yeah. Anyways, what was I saying? Talent acquisition. For my money, I would look and see at the spring transfer portal window more to see who we might be able to get that's game ready, particularly a wide receiver. And I love having Cam Ward, but God damn it, you couldn't have done that 10 days before and get Jeremiah Smith. You know what I mean? You couldn't have, you wanted to play games. And then, I mean, it's a victory, but almost I don't want to call it a full Pyrrhic victory because we still have a team that we can take into battle. But it's a victory, and both sides I'm sure feel positive in the end. Cam Ward got the money that he was looking for, and Miami gets the quarterback they were looking for. But you lose the number one player in America because you're messing around. You know what I mean? That will always be a craw in a thorn in my side. But so I say that to say that wide receiver is somewhere number one wide receiver. There was another couple guys who were, Miami went, a few guys that Miami went after at wide receiver, which has been unfortunately the history in the transfer portal age. The top guys that we've gone after, they've been like, cool, thanks for calling me. I sure might take a free visit down there, but I'm not going there because of your quarterback situation. And if you look at just all the dudes who've transferred over, I mean, you had Zachary Franklin, you had, I'm sure that we kicked the tires on Tez Walker, you had Juice Wells, and even other dudes, Jermaine Burton. That was a guy who, if you don't remember, way back 6-7 years ago, was committed to Miami in the end of his sophomore year through his junior year. So this time, as a sophomore in high school, when the 7-on-7 season started, Jermaine Burton committed to Miami. It was through the majority of his junior year he was committed to Miami, and then he flipped to Georgia, right? So that's a guy I'm sure that we kicked the tires on. There's other dudes, but no matter what we've tried to get a game-ready dude at wide receiver, it's not borne fruit. So that's somewhere I would look. And then in the secondary, I would continue to look there. But unless one of these top dudes that's still available wants in, I would rather allocate it to transfer portal spring window guys. And who knows what those are going to look like, because, Michigan's window is still open. I know that a lot of the guys wanted Sharon Moore, so they're probably going to stay. But the other windows are still open from Washington and Alabama. And Boston College's window just opened because Jeff Hafley is going to the Green Bay Packers to be their defensive coordinator as of or reported maybe an hour ago. I was literally playing video games, waiting to come on here, and I saw that Pete Thamel's source report, and then it was hitting everybody. So,
okay.
And he's a guy who went on the ACC network this week, or last week, excuse me, and was talking negatively about the state of college football and recruiting and NIL and and everything. And yeah, put in for the job at the Green Bay Packers. I'm sorry it's got to be against the Packers or at the Packers, because we got Ben Johnson coming back for another year with all the weapons we got on offense. Going to do numbers against you, buddy. Sorry for that, twice a year, but I'm not really. But I mean, yeah, he was talking in terms that were I don't really like it and I would like to get out. And the Green Bay Packers were like, hey, how would you like Central Northern Wisconsin for your next spot and to elevate up into the league? So he said, I will absolutely take that choice. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how many dudes there are on Boston College's roster that I would want to go get, particularly because I'm sure that the positions of strength are the same positions of strength that we have, like offensive line. But hey, that's another transfer window that's currently open. And then the actual full portal window opens again in spring. So, short story long, that's where I would look as opposed to anything. If I'll put it to you like this, and I know I still got to write that Isaiah Thomas notebook. I know, or rewrite it as it were. But if there's anything that happens next week, Wednesday, I will be playing catch up with notebooks. I'll put it to you like that.
Corey Fleming, thank you so much for the 499. Appreciate you. Thanks for being here. 2025, 3 hard commits. Wade Charles, wide receiver. Elijah Melendez, linebacker. Luke Nickel, quarterback. Not to put you on the spot because I know you have a cycle, a calendar of educating yourself and so forth. But are you fairly familiar with these 3? If you looked at film, scouting reports,
how do you feel about these 3? They, sorry to cut you off there. Yeah, because there's only the 3 of them. And I was very interested to see like what the future looks like, particularly at quarterback, right? So I'm going to go from the top down. Like Wade Charles, freaky athlete. He has, big playability. This is a guy who could grow into, a 2/1 receiver. Like he does a lot on the field for Palm Beach Central. Elijah Melendez, they call him, like a baby man almost. Or Big Baby, similar nickname to what Justin Flo had as a 5-star recruit coming out. Kasimi Osceola, he's been down several times. This is a guy that Miami loves, and if you watch his film, you will too. He's a guy, Wade Charles should be, mid-high 4-star based upon his talent. Melendez, he will elevate. He's currently a 3-star. That will not abide. He's going to be everybody's All-American, high 4-star caliber dude. Trying to pair him like with the Tarvis TJ Alford at linebacker. There's another couple of dudes. And Alford and Melendez are friendly, so you see them tweeting back and forth. Melendez is like, yo, like I'm coming to you, like big bro, come on down, like let's hold it down, lock it down, all that together. So that's kind of a thing there. The one as of right now is Luke Nickel, and I was unfamiliar with his game, and he committed, and I'm like, man, this 3-star from Milton, Milton, Georgia. He had played some as a sophomore. All right, we'll see. He came down. They played a game against Davie Western, which is not a great team, but they lost that game. He played okay, but not great. I think he was near 4,000 yards and 37 touchdowns with 5 interceptions across the year. It was a thing, I think, after that Western game when they came down, coach said, look, quarterback needs to lead the team, and we're going to go as far as you take us. So are you about that life or are you not? And with his play, Luke Nickel said, I'm about that life, right? Colquitt County, top-tier team, one of the highest-ranked teams in the Georgia 7A playoffs, okay? That team, led by Miami Hurricanes signee and early enrollee Nyquavian Nye Carr at wide receiver. Luke Nickel leads a come-from-behind victory in the state quarterfinals, beats Colquitt County on the road, and leads his team to a state championship. Not only that, and go look at the film, guys. 6'2", 210, kind of, he's not huge, but like, think Sam Hartman minus the baby fat. Like, that's kind of what his build is right now. Not the biggest dude in the room. And like, again, when you got these basketball forwards in Emory Williams 6'5", Jakari Brown 6'5", and Judd Anderson 6'7" in the room, he's clearly, he's half a foot shorter. You know what I mean? Well, 5 inches, whatever, same thing. But he moves well. He has good feet. He has a strong enough arm. He's not going to be confused with like a Jamarcus Russell or what's the kid from Tennessee, Joe Milton. He's not going to get confused with having that kind of an arm. but he's a big enough arm to make all the throws. He's elusive. He can run. He can manipulate in the pocket, right? And throws dimes. And if you were watching on social this weekend, one of the biggest events on the 7-on-7 calendar, the first event of the 7-on-7 year, which is such a great just marketing and placement idea from Battle when they looked at the landscape previously. Most of the tryouts for 7-on-7 teams, elite 7-on-7 teams, were around this time, end of January going into February. If you remember years and years and years ago, that's when Sean Burgess-Becker and Calvin Ridley did that bullshit, got us out there on Super Bowl Sunday saying they were going to commit, floated it out there to myself and others, and I have the messages on my Twitter confirming they were going to commit to the University of Miami that day. I can name people that I was with who were still working in this industry, right? Like as professional, like full-time, I blog on the side, I make crumbs. Full-time journalists, I can name names of people who I am friends with who were there with me. And then they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll let y'all know." Da, 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 da. And it was a publicity stunt to get people out to that thing. But again, that was Super Bowl Sunday in that year. Okay, the Battle company. So their logo looks kind of like Nintendo, but it says Battle through it. They do football gear and accessories and everything. And they looked at that calendar and said, "Hey, if the first big events aren't until end of February, March, why don't we make our event in January?" Last weekend in January in Miami, get all of the elite teams from east of the Mississippi down here. You're going to get a couple from the West Coast because it's far travel, but that's when our thing is going to be. So all these teams converge. I say that to say that in the convergence this year was Luke Nickel playing for the Cam Newton All-Stars and dropped dime after dime after dime. Go search it up on Twitter, guys. So he took the challenge that I'm surmising came from his coaches during the season, elevated his play. Actually, I'm going to go on Max Preps, and I'm going to – I still have it saved because I was on there. Where is it? Here we go. So when I say he elevated his play, in the first two games, a win and a loss, Luke Nickel had 184 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then 188 and 1 touchdown in the loss to Western, 14-10. After that, 241 on 70% completions and 3 touchdowns, 264 on 65 completions, 65% and 3 touchdowns, 266, 65, 1 touchdown in a loss to North Cobb, but okay, 192 on 70% completions, 2 touchdowns in a blowout. 138 on 77% completions, 3 touchdowns in a blowout. 457 on 73% completions and 5 touchdowns in a big win. 239 on 58% completions and 2 touchdowns. 294, 225, 298, 289, 434 against Grayson in the semifinals, 4 tutties and no interceptions, and then 205 on 76% completions in a state championship game win. Guys, he took that challenge, whether self-imposed or external, and I just read you the stats. And across that, he only had, get out of here, Aquaman, he only had 5 interceptions on the year. 3 of them came in the playoffs. 2 of them against Colquitt County, which was a 2-point win, the game against Nicar and them. And then he had 1 in the state championship game. So the whole season until the playoffs, man's had 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 interceptions across the year. Bro, this is a guy, and I saw somebody, a recruiting writer, write it. He said, "Hey, this might be the best recruiting win that Mario Cristobal's had." And I know there are more impactful guys. Like, you look in this recruiting class, 5-star here, 5-star there, 5-star here. Look back in last 5-star. We went and da-da-da-da. But with the way that Luke Nickel is trending up and the potential for his performance, because we went and evaluated and looked at him and said, we get that the recruiting sites have you rated as a 3-star. And we're fine. We see the vision, offering you a committable scholarship and accepting your commitment now, early. He said, huh? And how early was it? It was a week before my birthday, August 11th. there wasn't nobody who was on Luke Nickel like that. But Mario Cristobal and Shannon Dawson, the University of Miami, saw that vision early. Go look at the film. If this kid sticks, because trust, there is going to be competition trying to flip him from the U. This could end up being, especially with the sport is so quarterback centric. I get that he's not the highest rated guy that Mario Cristobal has ever recruited or won that battle at the University of Miami. I don't know that I 100% agree with that writer who said that it's like the most impactful recruiting win or movement that we've seen from Cristobal, but it has to be on the short list. That's the kind of potential and performance we're seeing from Luke Nickel.
Yeah, the offer list stands at 24, and it's pretty impressive because it starts out with a lot of solid Power 5 schools like Kentucky and Boston College and Duke and Cincinnati and so forth. But then pops up Florida State, pops up Louisville, Michigan State, Nebraska, Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin knows something about quarterback play, so you got to respect that. Penn State, Georgia, Wisconsin, Clemson.
Yeah. Again, and a lot of these, they did start rolling those offers out. And he did first offer from Michigan State. Hey, good job, Sparty. He went to junior day at Florida State. Obviously, it's a regional school, big school, going to try to get out there. So, yeah, he got some offers, but from the way that the recruiting went, it seems to me that those were the thing that Al Golden says does not exist, the non-committable offer or that camp or contingent offer. Like, yeah, we're giving you an offer, but the offer is contingent on you camping, we seeing you in person, working in our system with our coaches, those kind of things before we actually give you the full green light or whatever. Then, Luke came down for unofficial in July. And after we offered him July 1st, came down July 29th last year, and then committed in August. So, like, the other teams were saying, yeah, we're going to give you these, maybe contingent, I'm saying, hey, no, ain't no contingencies. Hop in a boat. Let's ride. We're all in. Hopefully, that relationship building pays off in the end. But yeah, of the three players, and again, this is why I can wax poetic for a while because there's only three, and I did just look at this film. But yeah, Luke Nickel, he's like in the three, but he ain't number three. Put him up at the top.
All right. I would have not known that. Good stuff. Falconer TRX is curious about this hand injury at band camp.
That's funny. Yes, it was one time at band camp. I'm going to tell you the very, very quick version of the story. So I went to Interlochen Arts Camp for 3 years as a youth. I worked there for 4 years from college and when I first started teaching in the camp life division, not in the music division. So I was a camp counselor or a cabin counselor. And the last 3 years, I was recreation director in charge of all of the sports, recreation, movement, and wellness for the campers. We used to line up with like 383 high schoolers in the morning, and I would give them a different we would go through stretching. No, the last thing we always did was jumping jacks. And so like my stage was the picnic table. And so I would say, whatever, we're going to go till 8 or whatever. And we would just go, and you want to feel power, man. You get 400 people in front of you doing what you say in lockstep. It was great. The elementary division, they came over and they were like, oh, you guys are too loud. So the next day I said, cool, take a quarter turn to your right and yell as loud as you can because they said that we're too loud. So we're going to show them what volume's like because I'm that kind of guy. Anyways, I was recreation director. It was a Sunday. The campers halfway through the summer wanted to play capture the flag in the woods behind the high school boys division. So we took a whole week, set up the parameters, set up the supervision, because you don't want kids sneaking off and hunching, because duh. So I recruited all the counselors for that and everything, blah, blah. At the same time, there was a group of campers who were running their mouths that they were going to beat the counselors, or certain counselors, myself included, at a game of basketball. And I said, that's absolutely not going to happen. So whatever. So I was not part of the capture the flag game. I was overseeing it. So I went out there to oversee it with my cohort from the high school girls division. Cool. She stayed to oversee it. The other counselors were out there. They're doing the thing. I went back to my cabin to go change for said basketball game. In the cabin, it's a big open cabin, A-frame kind of a thing. but I was not a cabin counselor that year. I was an administrator. I was only recreation director. So what they did is they partitioned individual rooms, and then they dropped a sub ceiling into the rooms for, so it wasn't just like a walls with a 20-foot high ceiling. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But hanging from that was a light. And off the side of that, a light was a piece of sheet metal. So I go to take off my white polo shirt that we have to wear on Sundays, and I go put my arms up, and I have long arms, and I felt a scratch. And I figure, okay, whatever. Like, one of those scratches, you see a little bit of the white meat. Pulled down, and it was yay wide flesh wound on my hand, like from here to here. Yeah. Because I caught the corner of it, so it kind of went into my hand as I did that movement. So shirt off, because like I was in the middle of changing, I go sprinting to the infirmary, which is nearby, as one of the counselors who was playing capture the flag, they're walking up the road. I had ridden my bike, so it was whatever. So they're like, bro, we just saw you going this other way. What are you doing? And I went to the infirmary. I'm yelling and screaming. There was a little young boy from North Dakota who had never encountered a person of color before on his albuterol inhaler, and he started hyperventilating because I'm screaming at the incompetent woman that I cut my hand. It hurts real bad. I need some help. Head nurse comes out, helps me. I have to go into town to Traverse City, get stitches and everything. When I go to the hospital, ironically, it was the third or fourth summer I'd been there, but whatever. I went to that same hospital with pink eye as a camper. So they're quoting back to me my address from way yonder. And I'm like, what? No, I don't live. Like, I haven't lived in Michigan in forever. What are you talking about? Da-da-da. So that was that. Luckily, it was only muscular and vascular, so I have full use and range and everything. But it was a little bit of a time to get those threaded stitches out of my hand, sealing that flesh wound. And that is the story of what happened one time at band camp.
And that was how long ago?
I worked there 03 to 06.
Okay. So this is close to 20 years ago, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
And you still have that white mark on your hand.
It's like flashing in the light. It's because it's like that, it's one of those scars that this is a different texture.
Yeah.
So like it's flashing, but I mean it's flesh colored. I can't really show you, but the texture makes it a little bit brighter. But I have one of those over here from second grade too. That was at school, not band camp, but yes. And in case you were wondering, Falconer and everyone watching and listening, I have those stories from band camp, but you're not getting those on here.
I sprained a wrist at church camp once. I did that.
I broke my tailbone at church camp.
Your tailbone?
Doing calisthenics or doing a three-legged race on turf at some Kentucky football stadium. And this is back when turf was yay thin with cement underneath it. And my partner tripped me, and I landed directly on my coccyx bone, and it had a hairline fracture in it. That was no fun. And that was in Kentucky from Detroit, right? And my mother would not come down and get me or anything. So then I had to stay there the rest of the week at church camp because it happened on the second day. And then I had to ride the bus back 10 hours from wherever in Kentucky back to Detroit with a fractured tailbone. Yeah, true story.
Oh man, that sounds painful. A fractured
It was not fun, my friend. But hey.
Yeah, two of the more painful situations I had medically, I wouldn't want to go into. So, but the fractured wrist, though, I was seventh grade. I'm running from like one activity to another activity, and I'm going through a playground. Like, I'm not going to be involved in the playground. I'm going to some other activity. I'm running through, and I see this balance beam. It's just kind of on as I'm sprinting through, and it flashes through my mind, or probably didn't even flash. It was just instinctive that I'm going to leap on this balance beam and make this part of my run, part of my sprint. And why I thought I could do that, I don't know. But yeah, I did a double flip down on the wrist and fractured my wrist.
Ooh.
And then a couple hours later, we were in our whatever sanctuary service or whatever it was, and it's just swelling, and it's aching and throbbing, and I finally had to tell somebody and get to the hospital.
Oh, memories.
Yes, yes. Corey's here. Appreciate it, Corey. Thank you so much again. What do you think about the NIL lawsuits and the potential impact on Miami's recruits?
So we have 2 lawsuits for 2 known situations. The first one was the University of Florida reneging on the $13 million NIL deal with Jaden Rashada. We've seen the pieces all over the place. That number is confirmed. I know that Florida people are going to say, no, it wasn't. There's documentation that proves that to be false, so shut up. The other one, and again, this is one that I've talked about in other conversations, but like the first big domino was $8 million Nico going to Tennessee. Like, it was one of the worst kept secrets in the world of recruiting. Like, it came out early. There's a guy in this class 2 years ago in 2022 who, you know, is, I'm sorry, 23, because they were freshmen this year. But in the last recruiting class, who got $8 million from a collective, and it was very quickly confirmed that was Nico Iamaleava and Tennessee. And it was funny to me that everything was going on about Jaden Rashada, right? And I get it. But nobody was talking about $8 million Nico. Like, I literally, if I'm on the phone with my friend Fred, I don't call him by his name. I call him $8 million Nico ever since that came out when he was still in high school. Like, everybody knew that. It was not hidden at all. It was common knowledge. But there was not word the first about that until yesterday or 2 days ago, when there's finally a lawsuit going up against, or oversight from the NCAA about Tennessee and Nico and that $8 million, to the point where Tom Mars, the famous attorney, came out and said, well, there was a contract that was executed between Nico Iamaleava and this booster club, and, or whatever, because he represents that booster group. Like, the name is out there. I'm not making this stuff up. So what do I think about it? I think that those collectives that are skirting the rules or trying to push the envelope, those are the ones that you see getting caught up. Like, when you have Georgia, USC, Texas, right? Miami. But remember, Texas came out and said, hey, every offensive line recruit, $50,000 a year for the duration of the time that you are a Longhorn. If you do that in the right way with the proper structure, ain't no problem. Remember, people were freaking out 2 years ago because Nigel Pack, the basketball player, got $800,000 to come to Miami in an NIL deal from Kansas State, number 24, starring for the team. Yeah, right. Everybody was all on that. Oh, well, but if you execute it according to the rules that are in place, there ain't no problem. $8 million Nico, don't think that was executed within the constraints of the rules as constructed. We damn sure know what Florida and Jaden Rashada had going on ran directly afoul of the rules. So I say that to say that if you're not following the structures in place for NIL and recruiting and all those things, yeah, you're going to run into trouble. If you are following the rules and structures in the way that they are, ain't no problem. Look, Jeremiah Smith fake signed on signing day and said, I need my lawyer to go over this contract for NIL with whatever the collective is from Columbus to ensure that this is what it is, and it's, on the up and up. I won't be jeopardizing my eligibility, any of that stuff. I need to see that and get that signed before you get my national letter of intent. I'm sure that they're the same thing with some Miami dudes. Okay, we want to be sure that we have all of this. But yeah, if you're doing things the way that they need to be done, I've seen Sean O'Dare, who's a Miami alum and he's a lawyer. I've seen other people come on and say, yeah, y'all are talking about Miami in this, but I can guarantee you, because I'm in these rooms, Brett Heitner, another one, I can guarantee you, I'm in the room. I looked at the legal language with my law degree. Ain't no issue. So for me, I'm not concerned. It's just like, hey, we can go, say we were all married, right? And we went out for a boys' night. Hey, we're going to have a beer. Cool. We're going to go home. You ain't worried about your girl thinking you're cheating? No, because I'm not. Do what you do. And hey, but like for me, I'm here. I'm going to have a beer. Cool. Dap you guys up and I'm going to go home. Now, if you're Rodney and Rodney's like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm here for half an hour, one beer. Hey, man, I got to, go do a thing or whatever before I go home. Yeah. So then maybe if Rodney's fictional wife Stacy comes by and is like, yo, I was just driving by as I where's Rodney at? He's probably going to get in trouble because he's probably not doing things the way that they need to be done. But the rest of us who are, ain't no smoke. Same exact thing in the world of recruiting. And yes, we're singling out the two schools who have been brought up on these, these allegations and things. Everybody in the sport is using NIL, period. You think that Malachi, what's his name from USC?
Nelson.
Malachi Nelson went to Boise State out of the goodness of his heart? Come on now. He got a bag. But again, if you're doing it in the structures that are, in place, ain't no problem, ain't no smoke. So for me, being years into this and like Miami being at the forefront of this, seeing that this is a thing that was going to change and, taking advantage of the situation, I don't have any concerns. My only concern is if they get greedy and try to break rules like Tennessee and Florida did. But otherwise, no, I'm good with it. And potential impact on Miami recruits, I don't think it's going to have impact because from demonstrated action with this engagement across multiple sports, across multiple years, this has been done by the absolute letter and intent of the law. So, except for the Cavender twins, because they went to somebody's house for dinner, who their parents knew, but still, that was like a minor little itty bitty thing. The women's coach was like, I didn't even know that they did that. She got suspended for 3 games or whatever, because you had to have some kind of thing. But like literally with the University of Miami, you're talking about twin women's basketball players, and it's one dinner with somebody that they knew, and that is the infraction. Otherwise, you cannot name it. So I am going to uphold or hold Miami to the standard that they continue to execute along this path of following the rules and structures that are in place. And if they change, get knowledgeable about what those changes are and continue to follow down that path. But I think that is a concern, Corey, for those other schools who are trying to cheat, as opposed to Miami, who is leveraging the system but not cheating it.
I had a conversation recently with a Florida individual who we did not take it down this path, but they implied that while the NCAA is going to be investigating the University of Florida concerning Jaden Rashada, that some things may come to light about Miami's offers to him.
Fine. Cool. All right. I mean, and look, I'm not going to say that there wasn't a conversation or whatever. Like, I'm not going to say that there wasn't, because like, you're not recruiting an All-American quarterback without that conversation. It's different though if it's, again, it's different. I was going to say something hypothetically, but I'm not sure if that happened, and I do not want to slander that person and like even hypothetically make that comparison. All I'm saying is we know for a fact the process and engagement that happened with Florida ran afoul of the rules. We know that concretely. We will see if Miami did something similar. I do not believe that they did, but I can be proven wrong. But, yeah. Ooh. Falcon and TRX, current roster, so for 24, better than last year. Let's do a quick rundown. Quarterback, I'm going to say yes. Running back, I'm going to say push to slight advantage in 24. So there's that. Wide receiver, I think the talent at the position is higher, but I was more comfortable with the prior performances of the guys coming back. So I want to say that's a push right now. It could be better just because, like, yeah, we have, Nikar and JoJo Trader in the room that we didn't have last year. Tight end, I mean, tight end is going to have to be better because you have all the guys back and you add Elijah Lofton. Offensive line, did a great job recruiting. You lose 2 guys to the NFL, but you replace 1 with a transfer. And the Washington kid did not end up coming to Miami, which is okay. but we have options there. I'm going to say slight advantage to last year, pending who starts at left guard. Or if we kick Jalen Rivers back inside and then start Markel Bell or Pancake Okunlola. So slight advantage to 23 on the offensive line. Defensive line, slight advantage to 24. Just because advantage to 24 because 23, that was a walking mash unit. Linebacker, better in 24. Although KJ Cloyd did a damn good job. And, I know Corey Flagg was embattled, but he made some great plays, including the game winner against Clemson. But overall, especially with the young players taking a step forward and the guys we added in recruiting, I like 24 better. Cornerback, big advantage to 23. I'm really concerned about cornerback, to be perfectly honest. And then safety, advantage to 23 just because it was Cam and James. Kicking, we still have Borregales, and we have, more, from the punter as well. Special teams, I'd say advantage to 23 because Brashard was back there. I want to see what happens with whoever replaces him on the return game. So overall, I think I gave more positions higher rated in 24. But again, like the initial conversation about, the win-loss and the statistical matchups between Miami and Florida State over the last 20 years or 25 years or whatever, it's very close. It's not a blowout, but I would say slight lean to 24, particularly because of the quarterback position.
And this is where coaching and development comes into play, because if it's a push, or even if it's a slight disadvantage to the current crop, because you're always losing at a major school, you're always losing more proven talent, obviously, moving on through graduation or the NFL draft, than you are gaining in proven talent. And none of these guys are proven. Now, you could have the number 3 class in the country or a top 5 class like Miami with a ton of potential. And then, of course, the transfer portal provides us with another X factor there that we didn't have to consider before. But everyone on this roster that was here in 23 moving to 24, if they're being coached and developed and they're applying themselves, they should be better players this fall.
Big thanks, and I mean, we obviously saw the in-season development of Ruben Bain, but like, what does Jaden Wayne look like with another offseason? You know what I mean? What did the freshman linebackers who ended up getting in, Marcellus Pulliam, Popo Aguirre, what do they look like? Malik Bryant, who I don't think saw the field at all, as a 4-star All-American linebacker, right? Combo guy who can, play off the ball and can also go and edge rush. Let's see him with a full another year of development, So, yeah, I'm going to say slight advantage to 24. But yeah, hopefully everybody takes a step forward, and the guys who have, made their performances, the level of performance known, like a Cam Ward, continue to play to that level, and hey, even raise that level. Because again, go back and look at last week's conversation about the schedule. The schedule is there for big things this season, and just like what I was saying for the Lions playoff run all the way from week 15, because that's when I started saying every game is a playoff game, because we had to win in week 15 to win the division, and we did, and da-da-da. But it takes every player, every play, every second of the game, and it takes every player every day, every session of weights. It takes, your nutrition. It takes your sleep and recovery. It takes your study. It takes every player being fully bought in, not just when we get to the opener on my cousin's birthday, August the 31st, but from now. Like, that's how, teams sustain greatness across seasons. Like Georgia, they didn't just all of a sudden one day turn it on. Alabama, for the run with Nick Saban, they didn't just one day turn it on. It has to be consistent buy-in and like singular focus. And, we'll see if that's what Miami has. I know that they've already started the off-season conditioning program. But yeah, that's what it's going to take. And hopefully this roster, which, I think is better than last year's, to Falconer's point. So the short story long is we agree that, yeah, this roster is better than last year's. And hopefully we're able to take advantage of that in terms of wins.
Quick comments from TRX. Thank you so much, Falconer TRX. Finally, Turf Talk. Let's go, Cam. And Miami's NIL is tight and right.
No complaints.
And final for the night comes from Leroy, the Black Ninja Turtle. Thank you, Leroy. Appreciate you. What wide receiver in the 23-24 classes will be the new X?
Ray Joseph. I mean, that's pretty simple. He's a technician in the slot. He's quick and he's fast. Those are two different skills, guys. I think he's going to grow more into his role. He's going to be more confident this year. Hopefully we get him in some space. He's another guy. I mean, he's faster than X. He's quicker than X, right? So run him on those same routes. Run him on those, crossers. He's running away from safeties and linebackers. Run him on an option route and dare a defender to stay in front of him. If he's coming out of the slot and he has a two-way go, Ray Joseph, what are you going to do? You're not going to cover him. You might hold him and get a pass interference or a holding call. But, that's the easy answer right there. Ray Joseph, another guy who can do similar things, being Nye Carr. JoJo Trader can do similar things, but JoJo's going to have to play on the outside, man, because, since we didn't get J4, it's really going to have to be that. But I think that there are multiple options. I say Ray Joseph being the number one, Nye Carr being the number two, but we have options who can step into that role and be a consistent and productive slot receiver, and grow into that role over time. So that's where I would start my conversation in terms of, when they. But again, remember, I don't know if you saw, Xavier Restrepo is coming back for this season, by the way. So if you're like, oh, who's going to replace him because he's gone? Run that back. No, he's not. So who's going to be X this year? X is going to be X. In the future, then you're looking at these other guys.
Light Skin Cage, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. Thanks for showing up and contributing. Thank you so much. We appreciate your fine compliments. And Falconer TRX, Mark hurt his wrist at church camp. It's normal.
Funny.
All right, everyone. Yeah. Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Bring a friend or two or 50 with you. That would be phenomenal. So keep that in mind. State of the U this week.
A little bit light, but we got our this week in basketball, Canes Hoops. Mike Schiffman's still running that. Craig T. Smith's Monday Musings, where he did talk about the Super Bowl Canes that are going and more. Got a couple other things coming down the pipe. So stateoftheu.com. Please continue to fan with us. The State of the U awards are going to be coming up soon, as well as many other things. And we have a lot of great content that if you missed, go back and work through it. But Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The State of the U. My personal Twitter account is @NerdWithSports. And I'm going to go ahead and get some dinner. So you guys have a great night, man.
Cam, thank you for making this a go.
Anytime.
Appreciate you. All right, everyone. We will see you throughout the day on Thursday.